the entry barriers, and zero price is considered pre-entry pricing and same price is considered cartelization, while the computational regime considers negative price as something promoting competition. So in competition law, you can have all these possibilities: high price, low price, zero price, and the same price is bad, but the negative price is good. So that is the exact logic, the same kind of sets of gray we have when you deal with the general regulators and special regulators or sectoral regulators. It's because sometimes we think that the competition law is a general law. Actually, to me, it is a special law. It all depends on the circumstances you are talking about. It deals with one special aspect of the market, and hence we say also generally believe that a special law prevails over general law, and that is the precise provision of the competition law that notwithstanding anything contained anywhere else, competition law prevails over all other laws. But the more important is not the issue between the competition general regulator and special regulator or sectoral regulator. We have exactly same issues among the sectoral regulators. We have the issues, people going to courts. It's not the parties going, it is the regulators who going, Foreign Markets Commission and Central Regulatory Commission, to decide that under whose jurisdiction the futures markets for electricity comes. There are people who have gone like, say, who will regulate ULIP? There's a fight between the SEBI and IRD and that requires an ordinance. So it's not the issue is between the general regulator and special regulator. Actually, it is the issue among the people who are running these regulatory bodies. Most of the problems arise how you look at things and who want to essentially trying to protect one's stocks. Quite often, maybe advocates, maybe clients or the parties, they try to take advantage. To me, to my understanding, the market for futures for electricity was the fight among the people who were preferring a particular forum. It was a proxy war among the regulators, but there are people behind them who are fighting that, okay, this should be regulated by this regulator because there is some regulatory arbitrage. I am also aware that quite often fight also goes to advocates, the fight among the competition law and patent law. It is to my knowledge, it is a fight between the lawyers of competition who are specialized in competition law, lawyers who are specialized in patent law. This is actually trying to protect their rights. This is my area, I am making my livelihood. How can they come and take this away? So this has to be in my area. So it is actually the people, the clients, the parties, the regulators and the advocates all try to take some kind of regulatory advantage, regulatory arbitrage, and then they come up with these kind of excuses. This is nothing to do with problem, is not with the competition general or sectoral, notwithstanding that I am not completely ignoring the problem. But 2 points I would like to mention before other panelists talk is that competition law, the way it is today and the way it is evolving over 5 years, 7 years, I don't see, competition law is very limited application section 3, 4, 5 and 6. It's not, the competition law deals with only certain illegal competitive matters, not all anti-competitive matters. But most of the competition concerns arise or will arise in the next 5 years, 7 years from the misdemeanors happening outside India. It is a merger anomalies happening outside, cartel happening outside, abuse of dominance happening outside. Probably very few things would emerge from India. If that is the case, all other sectoral regulators, though they have some jurisdiction over matters, somebody doing something outside affects the legitimate matter of interest of India, somebody manipulating the securities market in India, SEBI can still take action, even if the manipulation is happening from outside, but that's much more limited. So practically, for all practical purposes, the jurisdiction of all sectoral regulators is limited to India, while the jurisdiction of the competition commission is mostly outside India. So that's why again, I am not wishing out the problem. There are problems in the language, Electricity Act rights that notwithstanding anything from elsewhere, competition matters will be looked after by electricity regulator, competition regulator rights, and I am not wishing out those problems. But essentially I am saying is that there is actually these jurisdictions to a large extent are different, and it matters a little how they are operating. And as I know, there is very little consultation among the regulators. I'm saying is because, as I was told, that the limited area is 3, 4, 5, and 6. But most of the anti-competitive things are in the policies, rules, and regulations of the government of India, the regulators, state governments, all kinds of people, including the Register of Cooperative Society. As a matter people compact where Commission told that no, it's not my jurisdiction, but Commission told us it is within your jurisdiction because it is restricting supply, fixing price, all those kinds of things. So most of the things which are inherent in the policy and regulations could be anti-competitive but not illegal. This is the bigger area where which the area of interface between the sectoral regulators and the competition regulators. For example, SEBI decides that the price payable for the services of mutual fund agents cannot exceed this or cannot be below this. This is a policy matter. They have done in some context to pursue some public objective. You can consider this to be anti-competitive because it is restricting the freedom of people, but it's very difficult to consider to be illegal. We had an issue where another professional regulator, Chartered Accountant Institute, told that I am the regulator of the profession of the Chartered Accountants, and also I am the developer of the profession of Chartered Accountants. I want my people to have continuing professional education. They must have X number of hours of continuing professional education every year, but they must take that education from me only. So I am the sole provider of that. And Competition Commission prima facie felt that this is anti-competitive, and that is before the court now could not what would happen. The point I am making is that quite often the regulators are engaged with certain public objectives, protection of investors, those kind of things, consumer interests which are not necessarily illegal, and most of these regulators, particularly infra regulators, all of them have a major role in development. They have a much smaller role in the regulation actually. If you look at the preamble of the SEBI Act, it said that SEBI is for protecting the interests of investors, developing the market and regulating the market. So in fact, SEBI's role or any of these regulators' role is not much less. They have a major role in development where there is no clash between the sectoral regulators and general regulators. So to me, because of the developmental role, because of the jurisdiction outside and inside, I don't see much issues except that it is all depends on the personalities. We get into some problems, but if they try to live in harmony, I don't see any problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sahu. I must admit that we miss you when we take matters to the CCI. But I now want to turn to Mr. Rakesh Nath, who is the next technical member of the Tribunal for Electricity, for his views on this area.
One of the main objectives of the Electricity Act is to promote competition. And the Electricity Act is a code, complete code for electricity industry. It came subsequent to the Competition Act 2002. It has various provisions for promoting competition, like generation has been delicensed, trading has become a distinct activity. There is open access provided, non-discriminatory open access on the transmission system, and open access on the distribution system to provide choice to the consumers to buy electricity from an alternate supplier in the area distribution licensee. As and when the state regulator allows the open access on payment of certain charges, to compensate the loss that is incurred by the distribution company as a result of switching over to the alternate supplier. There is also a provision for procurement of power through competitive bidding, besides another path of procurement of power by distribution company through a tariff determined by the regulator, and so on and so forth. There is a provision for promotion of power markets. For the last 7 or 8 years, we have seen a lot of capacity addition in the power sector, and we have a situation where now the power availability availability is more than the demand. Whether we are meeting the full demand of the country or not, I don't think so, but still the power available is much more than the demand of the consumers as coming on the grid. And I was visiting some 1 or 2 power projects last week, and I found that in these 2 projects, which are based on the imported coal, they are backing down by about 1,000 megawatt. Now, units worth 1,000 megawatt were shut down because there was no demand. And I understand about 25 to 30,000 megawatt capacity. So now in generation sector, we have lot of competition. The transmission is the monopoly thing, you can't have a competition there. Unfortunately, in the distribution, we are not seeing any impact of the competition. Though there is a provision for open access, but then the compulsory charges which are provided for in the Act are so large that has been decided so high that the open access becomes unviable. That is one area which is of concern, because one of the main objectives for providing competition to the ultimate consumer, that has not been put to actual use. I don't know how Competition Commission can intervene in this area. The charges are to be determined by the state regulators. The Competition Commission Act provides for, Competition Act provides for reference by the Competition Commission or to the sector regulator and by the sector regulator to the Competition Commission. I don't see any interaction between the two, the Competition Commission and the sector regulators. I can recollect only one case where Maharashtra Commission referred some matter to the Competition Commission and took their advice. Other than that, I have not seen any consultation. The problem becomes complex, consultation becomes complex, because in the electricity sector there are more than 22 state regulators and a central regulator. So it becomes a big problem of coordination with 23 electricity regulators and one competition commission. The provisions of the Electricity Act of the regarding the competition are very generic. Simply like commission will promote competition in this area, or the commission by determining the tariff will encourage competition. But in the powers of the commission to make regulation, there is no provision for making provisions, regulations regarding competition. Whereas in the Competition Act, though it is also not very much detailed, but at least it defines what is a non-competitive act, what is abuse of power. Even that is not defined in the Electricity Act. I feel that as far as certain areas of competition and abuse of the dominant position, the sector regulators in the electricity sector must consult the Competition Commission. I think this is the initial remark which I want to give.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nath. I now want to turn to Mr. Kuldeep Singh, who is the next member of the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal. So, switch off the mic.
Thank you very much.
And in this area, I want to particularly say that we are embarking into a sector which is, I would say, it's not working. So we are embarking into an area where there's going to be a lot of consolidations over the next couple of years. The telecom sector is a particularly troubled sector. It's a sector which has heavy debt. Several of the operators are leading under the pressure of debt. It's a sector where arguably the promoters no longer own the companies. It's really the PSU banks that own the telecom operators. So when you have this overlap between the TRAI Act and capping it at 50% market share for companies that engage in consolidations and combinations, how do you implement that 50% market share? How does TRAI take into account failing company defenses? Is it really a responsibility for TRAI, or should it be really left to the Competition Commission? There are issues of AGR, OTSC, and other issues that are very, very important in this sector that are currently pending in the High Courts of the Supreme Court. So how does the CCI and TRAI take these issues into account? So I now leave it to Mr. Kuldeep Singh to address these issues.
Thank you very much. Actually, you see, telecom sector is a very, very complex sector. No doubt. All technical sectors tend to be complex. But telecom sector has got a specific thing. It was up to a certain point, it was considered a monopoly, natural monopoly. They thought that competition is simply not possible in this sector. And the reason was that in this sector, it is not that if somebody is producing something and you also start producing that and you bring competition. Here it is that if there is an incumbent operator and a new operator comes, the new operator has no subscriber base initially, and he starts with a very small subscriber base. Whereas the incumbent has all the market available with him. Unless and until this new operator is able to interconnect with the new operator so that his subscribers can talk to the subscribers of the incumbent operator and vice versa, the new operator it will be a non-starter. It cannot succeed at all. So the interconnect between these two is very, very important. When the telecom sector incidentally was one of the very first major service sectors to be privatized, though privatization was a very difficult and challenging thing here. But in the 90s it was open for competition. Initially it was the cellular mobile service and later on basic services and others were open. I'll just give you a certain background because Mr. Pathak touched upon the AGR and the difficulties the sector is facing. Why this sector is facing these difficulties, there is a history behind it. The history is that when this sector was opened up, the objective of the government was something totally different than what it is today. When it was opened up, the government operator at that time, government itself was operating the services, Department of Telecommunications. It had a resource crunch. There was a very low carrier density, about 2.5 or so. That means for 100 population, there were only 2.5 telephones. It was considered a nursery, very difficult, long waiting list, and you had to accept the service whatever you want. On the other hand, there were a number of new services, fancy services. The mobile service was considered a very fancy service. People were not even aware what is a mobile service. Radio, AG. These were very fancy services. They were not able to meet the basic demand. For them to have spare resources for the fancy services was very difficult. So what they did, government thought that, and of course there were WTO commitments and all that, but that is a separate issue. The government thought that this sector can be opened up so that these new and fancy services were these new and fancy services can be sorry. These new and fancy services can be offloaded to the private sector, and the government operator can concentrate on the basic services. Now, when these services were open to competition, there was no regulator. And unless the interconnect was provided at reasonable terms to them, they could never compete with, the new operators could never compete with the incumbent or remain in the market. Subsequently, when the basic services were also opened up for competition, it became even more necessary to have an independent regulator who can ensure this interconnect. Now this interconnect is cost-based. The regulator has to make it cost-based, otherwise, because if a profit is made on the interconnect, then and different terms of interconnect are offered to different operators, then it will be for some operators they cannot be a level playing field, they cannot be a competitive market. So for the cost-based tariffs, if you look at the cost-based tariffs, in a way it is a anti-competitive thing, because unless you leave the tariffs open to the others, how can a new operator come? So if a new infrastructure provider was to come to provide infrastructure to these operators, unless the tariffs were market-driven or there was a profit component, it would be non-competitive. So there was a kind of conflict before the regulator, and the regulator naturally had two kind of tariffs. One was the tariff which were for interconnect, which were cost-based, and one was the tariffs which were given to the end user, on which the services were provided. They were regulated, lightly regulated, and left open to the market forces rather than the competition view. So that was something special about the regulator here. Now, and besides this, the regulator had a lot of other things like introduction of new service providers, the timing for that, knock-in, that is a competitive overlap, because it will recommend when the new service provider is to be introduced by and on what terms and conditions. Then, of course, it had a lot of other things like management of spectrum and compliance with the terms and conditions of the licenses, quality of service to the end users, etc., etc. On the objective part, I was saying that when the services are open, the government's objective was to not to make revenue from these services. Their objective was that to complement the efforts of the government operators, and so that end user gets a good service at a reasonable cost. And the criteria on which the first metro licenses in the metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, and Chennai were awarded. The criteria was the merit of the operator. That what is their financial strength, what is their technical strength, what kind of service they will provide, what will be the tariff they will charge from the subscriber, and they fixed their license fee. And the license fee was a nominal license fee, fixed by the government. Now what happened, because the license fee was fixed and the criteria was a multiple criteria called as a beauty contest in terms of telecom licenses. The criteria was challenged, it went into litigation, in the Tata Cellular case, you know that. It went right up to Supreme Court where it was settled. But 2 years were wasted in the litigation, though it was put on the fast track and it went quite fast. Government, in order to simplify the criteria, when the next round of licenses came for servers, said that, all right, because this, if you go for a multiple merit criteria, it is subjective and leads to litigation. Let us have a minimum eligibility criteria, that if you have a minimum strength, technical strength or financial strength, then you will be eligible to participate in the race. And then we will see that how much license fee you are eligible to provide. Now, again, interestingly, the idea of the government's objective still was not to generate revenue. It was to simplify the criteria. Only for that purpose they shifted to the bidding. But when the bidding happened, they got so fantastic amounts that the earlier objective of providing a reasonable, good quality service to the consumers was lost, and they started thinking in terms of revenue. Now, we were talking that one thing is that the government can think of maximizing the revenue, or they can think of maximizing the GDP and the quality of service which they give to the consumer. But ultimately, why do governments generate revenue? They generate revenue for ultimately putting it back into the welfare of the citizens and for ruling the economy. So that side was lost out. And today we say that government is earning so many lakhs of crores through spectrum auctions. But like Mr. Bharat very rightly said that the sector is in doldrums and lot of debt is there, and they may come and the government may have to give this money to bail out the PSU banks who have finance these auctions and finance. So in the one hand they are earning and the other hand they might have to give. Now this kind of situation also is not healthy for competition. Now if you see, there are different types of issues which will affect competition. There are purely commercial issues like I have told about AGR and all, but there are many technical issues, highly specific technical issues which affect. For example, I'll give you the issue of set-top boxes. Let us talk about the broadcasting service. Where you have a set-top box at home. Now set-top box, the telecom operator fixes standards. They have to be provided as per certain standards. They are open standards. But in spite of these being open standards, there are some things proprietary about either the equipment or the set-top box. But with the result that the set-top box of one operator would not work with the other operator. Now, if a consumer takes service from a person, from a service provider, and he is not satisfied with the service or the tariffs are not competitive, he has invested money in the set-top box, and that he cannot shift to the other operator unless he is willing to forego that money, or either he has to forego that money or he has to continue with the existing service provider. TRA, after a lot of this thing, has not been able to ensure this technical interoperability. A highly technical regulator who is expert in the field has not been able to do that. If this were to come to the competitive commission, would they be able to do that? So I talked about two issues. One is the issue of now AGR, which comes from, it comes from the way the government's focus shifting to the revenue generation, and incidentally this AGR also has a very interesting part. The interesting part is that when this case was, I think in 2007, came to a field set, the issue shifted from the facts of the case, that what are the components of AGR, what AGR should reasonably be, what is the history of AGR, why AGR has come about, because it was a fixed license fee, then there was a migration which happened because people put in very high fees, they were not able to pay those fees. Those fees were based on a duopoly concept that there would be two operators, but then it was open to competition and they were about to migrate to a revenue sharing regime. From that background it came. But what happened when they migrated, they did sign on a dotted line saying that they will accept the terms and conditions of the migration. If this history and the facts were kept in view, then probably the outcome would have been different. But when this AGR issue went to the Supreme Court, the whole focus was on whether TDSAT can intervene in the AGR issue or not. So it became a pure abstract law question without the merits of the case. Ultimately, now one of these, you mentioned about AGR is one of the reasons, especially after the Madras High Court judgment, as the things stand today, if you are a company operating in 5 fields, maybe you are producing cement, maybe you are providing consultancy services, and you are also a telecom operator, the revenue from all the streams would be counted for the purpose of AGR. And if there is another person operating only in telecom service, he will have to pay only that telecom. So is it level playing field? Is it competitive? So such kind of issues now this is an issue which is fit for coming to a competition commission. Whereas a highly technical issue is fit for going to the regulator. So we say that there is an overlap of jurisdiction, but worldwide there is a common jurisdiction. You can talk about exclusive jurisdiction, or you can give an exclusive jurisdiction to CCI, but then CCI will have to build a technical expertise in every sector, and it will become a massive body. So it will be out of control. On the other hand, there can be a what you call as the cooperation kind of thing, issue-based cooperation. The two can come together and decide that this is a fit issue to be decided by the CCI, and this is a fit issue which can be decided by the sectoral regulator, TIA. So, and accordingly the issues can be decided. Fortunately, the section 21 and 21A, especially after the 2007 amendment, and 21A has come, and even few more efforts can be made to each other, facilitates the two to talk to each other and solve all these issues, and decide on the decide that which is the issue fit to be taken in CCI, or which is the issue fit to be. So there need not be any turf war, there need not be any things where it has to go to High Court to decide that whose jurisdiction it is. Rather, it can be a very cooperative thing, and it can be very easily sorted out. And definitely there are issues fit to be decided by CCI, and there are issues fit to be decided by the TIA. Another case is the mergers, Now mergers are maybe CCI and the TIA have different approaches. And otherwise also the TIA's approach is more on what you must do, whereas CCI's approach is that what you must not do. So it is basically a different kind of approach. But in case of mergers, if you see, the merger sometimes becomes necessary because of sectorial changes. Like, for example, Chennai and Tamil Nadu circles. Now, they were two independent circles, they are merged together now. So, an operator who has got a license, sorry, I'll just quickly wind up. But these two operators, their licenses may not be co-terminals, their spectrum may not be obtained on the basically maybe bundled for one, and it may be taken through an auction for the other. So they are very complex issues. So which may require cooperation between both the things. So I think that the law as it stands today definitely provides for a cooperative approach to the competition. Thank you.
I think one of the challenges in telecom is also whether the department wants something achieved, like a merger of circles, and then doesn't want it achieved. There's an inconsistency in the approach. But now I turn to the chairperson of the Airport Economic Regulatory Authority for his views on this area.
I'll try to keep it brief. I think first I should start by saying what we don't do. We don't fix the airfares. Many people have this feeling that we are dealing with all the high flyers. No, we are on the ground. We are looking at only at airports. And in the airports also, we look only at the aeronautical services. So what are these aeronautical services? Give a quick brief about functions, and then I'll say what we do about competition. In the aeronautical services, I would classify it as four. First is the airport operator's work. He provides the runway, he provides the not the navigation services, but he provides the terminal. So what he has to do with the passengers, the baggage, and boarding, all this comes under aeronautical services. The Act also defines aeronautical service, apart from the airport operator, what he does. They provide the runways. Also, the aeronautical services are also comprise of cargo services, ground handling, which means providing facilities for the aircraft, for the passenger, and then fuel throughput.
supplying fuel to the aircraft. These are the 4 services we could say which come under our jurisdiction. Now, the airport operator himself, we fix a tariff for these aeronautical services. So we don't fix the tariff for items supplied in the airport or for your parking. We only the charges of the airport, aeronautical services. Then, when we come, what we have to do with competitions are the Act doesn't, give us any powers to promote competition. We can't say, okay, there's only one airport here, build another one. We can't do something like that. But among the people who provide the services, aeronautical services, for instance, cargo, what we do is, when we want to fix the tariff for cargo handling, then we look at 2 or 3 items. We say, okay, is it really important enough for us to look at the cargo services? Is it material? Should we go into it in great detail? That's the first thing that we do. Second thing is we look at whether there is enough competition. And we define competition in very, very poor terms, I must say. We just say there are 2 people who are doing it, okay, we have competition. We don't look at whether they are investing anything, whether they are adding to the resources, whether they are trying to reduce the tariff, whether there is really some movement in that. Then the third thing we look at is whether these people have some user agreements. Like you provide cargo service, different users are there, if they have any user agreements, then again what we do is we don't, so if it is material, then, and if it is not competitive, there is no competition, then we try to fix the tariff as we fix it for the airports. For the airports, we look at their annual revenue requirement. For 5 years, we fix the tariff. As per the Act, I'm talking about all that the Act requires us to do. So every 5 years, we look at how much he should get for the aeronautical services that he provides. And then we take into account his expenses, the depreciation, the return on his investment, all that. We calculate the total and then we decide how much tariff should be fixed. So this is the only area where we have something to do with competition, where the service is provided by the service providers. But as Mr. Sahu was saying, or the telecom people were saying, there may be airports where the volume of business is so low. How do you have more than 2 people as ground handling people who provide ground handling services? There may not be enough business for two or three people. So we have to look at all this. And we certainly, as I said, don't look at anti-competitive. That we will leave it to the CCI, whether it is non-aeronautical services or aeronautical services where we have declared that it is competitive and then we have gone on a light touch approach. When we say light touch, we let him charge what he is charging or what he is doing. So these 2 areas, perhaps Competition Commission could come in and say that, okay, the regulator has said that there is competition, but we don't find that there is competition, and they could perhaps promote competition or do something else. But so far as aeronautical services are concerned, I don't think CCA has a role. I think the service regulator is fully in charge of that. So I don't see much of a conflict between the sector regulator and CCA. And so far we have not come across any discussions. Thank you.
And finally, we come to a practicing lawyer. Mr. Saket, go ahead.
I think I have to make good on some of the expectations that Mr. Sahu has put on us as a fraternity of lawyers. I'll start with 2 incidents that have actually been a highlight for the nation as the baseline for at least my discussion, part of the discussion. One is the surgical strike that happened in the border of India and Pakistan about a couple of months back. And also the currency, kind of cleaning that is presently ongoing. The 2 both of these have been enormous operations, and it was neither was the surgical strike only the doing of the Indian Army, nor was this this currency cleaning, or if I may use the term, is only up to the banks. There are a whole lot of ministries and departments which are working together, probably 28 hours a day to put it all together. So the baseline of my approach is convergence, and that is convergence also amongst the regulators, because that is how effective things can become if the government is or the various authorities are looking to come to one specific purpose. Having said that, there's a very interesting observation made by Mr. Samu. I also had that observation, but I'll take the benefit of his observation actually. It also depends, coordination and convergence also depends on the personality traits of the persons who are heading the authorities. Somebody may look at it as an opportunity to carry out the statutory functions in a more effective manner. Others